In 1931, an empire came to tear China apart. The Japanese army poured into Manchuria, annexing a territory the size of France and Germany combined. The world expected a furious defense. But China's leader, Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek, made a baffling, almost unthinkable choice. He ordered his best troops not towards the invaders, but inwards. His target wasn't Tokyo. It was a small, ragged group of his own countrymen hiding in the hills. He chose to hunt his own people while a foreign enemy carved up his nation. This wasn't a mistake, it was a strategy. And understanding it is the key to understanding modern China. To grasp Chiang's decision, you have to see the China he inherited. It wasn't one country, it was a shattered mosaic. After the fall of the last emperor, power didn't go to the people. It went to men with guns, warlords. They carved up the nation into personal fiefdoms, printing their own money, collecting their own taxes, and fighting endless, pointless wars. The central government in Beijing was a puppet, a joke. For millions, life was a nightmare of famine, bandits, and constant violence. Sun Yat-sen's dream of a unified, modern republic seemed dead on arrival. This chaos was the disease, and two competing cures were about to emerge. If you want to see more stories that uncover the hidden logic behind history's biggest turning points, make sure you subscribe. Into this chaos stepped Chiang Kai-shek, the protege of Sun Yat-sen. He was a military man, disciplined and ruthless. He believed China's only hope was a powerful, unified army. To build it, he and his nationalist party, the Kuomintang, or KMT, made a deal with the devil. They allied with the fledgling Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. Why? The Communists had something Chiang desperately needed: Soviet money, Soviet weapons, and Soviet advisors. It was a marriage of convenience. The goal was simple: march north, crush the warlords, and finally unite China under one flag. This was the Northern Expedition. And for a time, it worked. The alliance swept north, warlord after warlord falling before them. It looked like the dawn of a new era, but Chiang never trusted his partners. He saw the communists not as allies, but as a virus within his own party. They were organizing labor unions, arming workers, and talking of a second revolution, a proletarian one. For Chiang, who was backed by China's bankers and industrialists, this was unacceptable. In the spring of 1927, as their joint army reached the glittering, decadent city of Shanghai, he struck. In the dead of night on April 12th, he unleashed a secret weapon: the city's powerful crime syndicates, the Green Gang. Armed with KMT weapons, gangsters and soldiers hunted down and slaughtered thousands of communists, union leaders, and anyone suspected of leftist sympathies. It was a bloody, shocking purge. The alliance was shattered. The Chinese Civil War had begun. After the massacre, Chiang established his new government in Nanjing. He had nominally unified the country, but the communist threat, though weakened, was not gone. The survivors, led by a young organizer named Mao Zedong, fled to the remote mountains of Jiangxi province. And this is where Chiang's core belief hardened into official policy, a phrase that would define the next decade: Rang Wai Bi Xi'an An Ne. First pacify the interior, then resist the exterior. To Chiang, the Japanese were a disease of the skin. They could take territory, but they couldn't destroy the soul of China. The communists, however, were a disease of the heart. Their ideology threatened the very foundation of his vision for the nation. He believed that fighting Japan with a divided country was suicide. China had to be politically and ideologically pure before it could face an external foe. The cancer at home had to be cut out before dealing with the wound from abroad. Then, in September 1931, the wolf kicked down the door. The Japanese army staged a fake sabotage on a railway line in Manchuria, the Mukden Incident, and used it as a pretext for a full-scale invasion. This was not a minor skirmish. This was a modern, mechanized army devouring a vast, resource-rich part of China. The local Chinese forces, under orders from Chiang not to resist, collapsed. Within months, Japan controlled all of Manchuria, renaming it Manchukuo, and installing the last Qing emperor, Puyi, as their puppet. The world condemned it. The Chinese people were enraged. Protests erupted. But Chiang Kai-shek's response was nothing. He appealed to the League of Nations, a powerless gesture. His armies remained focused, not on the northeast border, but hundreds of miles south, on the small communist Soviet in Jiangxi. Chiang's obsession intensified. He launched a series of massive encirclement campaigns to wipe out Mao's base. These weren't small police actions. They were colossal military operations. The first campaign involved 100,000 troops. The second, 200,000. The third, 300,000. While Japan solidified its control in the north, Chiang poured his best resources, his German-trained elite divisions, into hunting a few thousand peasant guerrillas. The communists, using tactics of luring the enemy in deep and striking at their weak points, miraculously survived the first few campaigns. But the fifth one was different. Chiang, advised by German General Hans von Sicht, changed tactics. He stopped chasing. Instead, he built thousands of concrete blockhouses, creating a tightening ring of steel and fire, slowly strangling the communist sanctuary. By 1934, Mao and his followers were trapped. Starving and facing annihilation, they made a desperate decision: to break out and run. This was the beginning of the Long March. It wasn't a march. It was a year-long, 6,000-mile fighting retreat. 80,000 soldiers and cadres broke through the blockhouse ring and began a circuitous journey across the most forbidding terrain in China. They were relentlessly pursued by KMT armies and bombed by Chiang's air force. They crossed snow-capped mountains and raging rivers. They fought battle after battle. Of the 80,000 who started, fewer than 10,000 survived to reach the remote northern province of Shanxi. For Chiang, it looked like a victory. He had driven the communists to the brink of extinction. But in doing so, he had created a powerful myth of survival and resilience that would become the founding legend of the People's Republic of China. He had made Mao a legend. While Chiang was fixated on his communist hunt, the mood in the rest of China was turning toxic. The public was humiliated by the government's inaction against Japan, which was now encroaching further south from Manchuria, nibbling away at northern China. Students held massive protests, demanding, "Stop the civil war, unite to fight Japan." Intellectuals wrote scathing articles. But most importantly, the anger was brewing within Chiang's own military. The man feeling it most acutely was Zhang Xueliang, the young marshal. His father was the warlord of Manchuria, assassinated by the Japanese. His homeland was now occupied. His elite northeastern army had been forced to retreat without a fight. And now Chiang had stationed him and his troops in the city of Xi'an, with orders to fight the communists. For Zhang, this was the ultimate insult. He was being told to kill his own countrymen instead of avenging his father and liberating his home. In December 1936, Chiang Kai-shek flew to Xi'an to force Zhang's hand, to demand a final, decisive campaign against the communists. It was a fatal miscalculation. In the early hours of December 12th, Zhang Xueliang's troops mutinied. They stormed the hot springs resort where Chiang was staying. After a brief gunfight, they found the leader of China hiding in a cave, clad only in his nightshirt, having lost his false teeth in the scramble. The generalissimo was now a prisoner of his own general. Zhang's demands were simple and echoed the cries of the nation: end the civil war immediately, and form a new united front with the communists to fight Japan. The incident shocked the world. China was on the verge of another, even more chaotic civil war. The communists, ironically, were key to saving their greatest enemy's life, realizing that killing Chiang would only fragment China further, making it easier for Japan to conquer. For 2 weeks, China held its breath. Secret negotiations took place between Jiang, the KMT, and a delegation from the communists, led by the suave diplomat Zhou Enlai. Chiang was stubborn, furious, and humiliated. He refused to sign any written agreement, but the pressure was immense. His own party was in chaos. His wife flew to Xi'an to plead for his life, and the threat of a Japanese full-scale invasion loomed larger every day. Finally, he gave a verbal commitment. He would stop the civil war. He would form a second united front. Zhang Xueliang, believing he had saved China, released Chiang and, in a strange act of chivalry, accompanied him back to the capital. He was immediately placed under house arrest, where he would remain for the next 50 years. He had won the battle, but lost his freedom. Chiang had been forced, against his every instinct, to shake hands with his mortal enemy. The new alliance was fragile, built on deep-seated mistrust. But it came just in time. 7 months later, in July 1937, a minor clash between Chinese and Japanese troops at the Marco Polo Bridge near Beijing escalated into all-out war. The Second Sino-Japanese War, the true beginning of World War II in Asia, had begun. Chiang's armies, now nominally allied with the communists, turned to face the invaders. But had his decade-long obsession with hunting communists cost China dearly? He had spent immense resources, time, and the lives of his best soldiers on an internal conflict. The country was still not truly unified. His strategy had given Japan years to prepare and consolidate its position. Now, China faced the full might of the Japanese Empire, a nation exhausted by a decade of civil strife. So why did he do it? From a purely military perspective, Chiang believed he couldn't fight a two-front war. He saw the communists as a more fundamental threat to his power and his vision for China than the Japanese. He gambled that he could eliminate them quickly and then turn to face Japan. He was wrong. The hunt allowed the communists to survive, to forge their identity in the crucible of the Long March, and to build support among the peasantry. When the war with Japan ended in 1945, the Civil War erupted again, and this time, a battle-hardened Popular Communist Party would face a corrupt and exhausted KMT. Chiang's decision to hunt his own people didn't save China. It arguably sealed his own fate and paved the way for the ultimate victory of his greatest enemy. What do you think? Was Chiang's strategy a pragmatic, if ruthless attempt to unify his nation from within? Or was it a catastrophic blunder that changed the world forever? Let me know in the comments below.